what are we even doing this for when we're shucking and jiving for a state that is literally robbing us blind? Right. And I think that's where the conversation is really interesting to have right now when we're talking about concepts of excellence, Black excellence, this idea again of community, of what we're trying to build. Um, and this idea again of desirability, because we are, again, these loops are happening because as this Magic City documentary is coming out, what else is happening right now in social media streets? We got a whole conversation with Laverne Cox about who she has decided to in the past take up, relations with. And the same topics had came up in that conversation that just happened, right? With a bunch of folks about desirability, being chosen, right? And this idea then of who is allowed to choose, who is allowed to be chosen, and who can really see you when you represent a community, but that community may not really fuck with you,
This is such a good
even
point.
though
And
you love that community.
absolutely. And this is the piece with the dancers that I think is important that doesn't often get highlighted is that even within these spaces, there are hierarchies within hierarchies. And so one of the things I was struck by at the time when all of the Nelly stuff was happening and the subsequent conversations that happened after, there was a real distinction that dancers wanted to make between themselves and other forms of sex work. I dance,
Yeah, the street. Hmm.
I dance, that's different. That's not the same. It's not the same also to be a dancer in a music video versus to be a face model in a music video. I don't dance in the music video. I'm the pretty girl who is the lead model. That's also different, and that's also a different price point. Um, this is also even Tyra Banks making distinctions between girls who model lingerie, girls who are in things like Playboy, right? So there's a hierarchy that even people who are trying to be more nuanced and make more space still end up participating in that pits women against each other, pits people against what is considered an acceptable, appropriate, respectable kind of work and work that is not considered appropriate or respectable. And that to me is also something that's underlying the conversation that doesn't get said. Um, there's a way that stripping, even as it is seen as, uh, even as it has a negative connotation, there's a way that it still isn't seen the same way as people who are doing street based sex work. And also, even in terms of the language that we were using, saying dancer, not stripper, is also doing this work of separating and making sure we understand no, 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 I'm a dancer. I'm not a stripper. I'm a dancer. I don't do street based sex work. And these distinctions are important. I'm not saying that they don't have meaning, but part of their import has everything to do with people trying to manage the stigma that's associated with being a woman working in industries that people don't find respectable in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think and to me this comes back to this kind of idea again of culture and community once again. Like what are we framing our understanding of culture around then? And again, which then shapes this ideas of communities and we talk about Black community and all this other stuff that is again coming back up in the conversation, going back to even Laverne, right? And this is no, I'm not honestly like excusing who Laverne was with. That's quite frankly none of our business. So her telling it was a whole nother conversation. Honestly, but her bringing it up in the reaction, I think is really important to kind of engage with right now because Laverne is a trans woman, a Black trans woman, a doll, a beautiful Black trans woman, right? And so when you listen to Black trans women talk who are hyper feminine, they talk about the backlash they will then actually get for because, quote unquote, they can essentially pass. Whatever the hell that means, right? Whatever the hell that means in the context in which it is in. So then you
Absolutely.
really are a woman. And when patriarchy, men are trained not to like women,
Yes.
and here you are, the embodiment of womanhood. actually the true and like, no, I don't want to say true, but like the essence of womanhood that we are fed, right?
Yes. Yes.
Then you get
Yes.
this backlash in a community, and it was not just the Black community, in communities, right? We talk about patriarchy leading communities. You get the backlash of the community that you still do love and it honestly have to be used by because you represent said community to quote unquote be the first. And we know about you being the first too. That was literally the residency you did at Beloit with me, right? When I was there, as the first scholar in residence on being the first, right? There is a conversation that we are not being honest about then people refuse to truly center for decades now about what it means when you have digested the ways you are told by a state that the way you have to perform your identity, so we're talking about Blackness right now, has to be in this bounded way. It must be through the lens of the patriarch who cannot even see himself. And when you have to then perform for said patriarch, right? We then lose the ability to see ourselves in the multifaceted ways that we do culture and community. So I think it's
And that
really interesting right now. Again, go ahead.
No, no, no. I mean, I think this is exactly what I was trying to speak to when I was talking about the hierarchy.
Mm-hmm.
You have internalized a patriarchal understanding of what is valuable. And so part of your stigma management strategy in a world that does not love, does not respect, does not see Black women as human, part of your strategy is trying to align with whatever version of the story you think is going to put you in a better position. And it does not
Exactly.
lead to a collective organizing. It does not lead to maybe a reevaluation of the terms that have been set that we all don't agree with. So this is what happens. It becomes about people's individual relationships
Yes.
to money, people's individual relationships to getting the bag, but it doesn't actually question the terms under which we get the bag. Like my thing, and this is another part that I
Mhm.
hope made it into the documentary. I'm like, if we're going to talk about what women need, like, is there a place where we have a strip club that is worker owned? Are we going to talk about a strip club that has childcare? Are we going to talk about the material working conditions? Is there a union possible? You know, is what are the terms under which women are working that make this a viable option for getting money, but not a viable option through which to contest the conditions under which we're all struggling? Like that to me is really the question. And I think for Black people in this moment now, and even then, the idea was our individual. If one person makes it, then we've all made it. And that's not true.
Yeah.
What is making it mean?
Yeah.
What does it mean for us to imagine a world where we don't have one celebrity influencer that's trying to get us to think about bone marrow registration?